In this episode, we deep dive into the groundbreaking AI advancements this past December and what it means for your business, including OpenAI's 12 days of Shipments and Google's Gemini Flash 2.0. We'll explore how these new tools and features are reshaping business operations. From advanced reasoning models to multimodal AI and real-time execution, these innovations are bringing AI closer to solving real-world problems in industries like manufacturing, construction, and real estate. Let's accelerate your business. Welcome to the AI Accelerated for Business show, where you get the latest strategies, tactics, and information to get the business benefits from artificial intelligence. My name is Carl Ye, and I'm joined by my co-host, Jeff Bradshaw. And today we're going to recap the 12 days of Shipments from OpenAI and the releases that Google also did during that time frame, and really what are some of the key things that businesses should know that they can take advantage of today and maybe plan as a roadmap for the next 3 to 6 months?
Perfect. Thanks, Carl. And these new releases represent a systemic shift in how businesses can leverage AI for competitive advantages. With this enhanced reasoning, multimodal capabilities, and real-time task execution, businesses can now streamline their operations, improve decision-making, and unlock new avenues of innovation.
Why don't we just recap some of the things that were launched over the last, I guess, 2.5 weeks? I'm going to pull up a chart here, but pretty much, right, you've got day one, December 5th, the full release of the O1 model. We were at preview, then O1. Then they also released the ChatGPT Pro subscription, which is really interesting because it's $200 a month. Now you're thinking, oh, why would I pay that? Well, it's like, even Sam Altman said, most of us won't need to pay that $200 a month. There's very, very few people who are doing PhD level math, science, very, very high level of reasoning. And even in those fields, you don't use them every day. So it's only very specifically for researchers, really complex problems. But we did pay for it because we wanted to try it out. And we've done some tests on, I've asked ChatGPT to give very, very complex business problems and to test O1 full versus O1 Pro. It seems a little bit better, but I think for most of us, we just need the O1 full, which is an amazing tool in itself. Then we've got a couple of fine-tuning, reinforcement fine-tuning, which most businesses won't need to know unless, you really have significant data sets. Day 3 was the Sora launch. That's been, I think, 6-7 months in the making. I do feel, Jeff, like, you've been in the video business. I'm not sure that text to video at this moment, maybe it can replace some B-roll. We've seen some footage from Coca-Cola, but I just don't think it captures what, from a story perspective, the various camera angles that you would need to spend tons and tons of tokens to actually get what you really need. And even in those cases, you may not, versus a professional cinematographer, videographer.
Carl, I agree. It's got a long ways to go, but I think that, again, as you always say, right, and, this is the worst AI is ever going to be. And I think that it just goes to show that the potential of what's capable from that text to video coming in the future is going to be pretty amazing.
Yeah. And, we have a show on predictions, and I think that's one of my predictions too. Day 4, we got Canvas update. So if you're a powered ChatGPT user, you can edit in platform. I think most businesses don't realize this, but I think the key here is OpenAI is trying to develop their own operating system. So most of us are either on Teams or Google, and, you use Word, Excel, Google Docs, Google Sheets. If OpenAI does this correctly, you can edit in platform. So you can edit any of your text. You have advanced data analytics in there. You also you can create essentially images with DALL-E, although not as great as Midjourney. Eventually, would you need to go to these other platforms? Now, old school, you probably still need to print some of that stuff. You don't need to print a lot of that stuff now, but I think that's where they're kind of going with this. And I'm curious to see if people will actually just stay in platform, because if you can do all your productivity, search, and have conversations and chats with an AI, there's really no reason for you to leave the platform anymore.
Well, and you know what I think? And I think, again, with a lot of these tools, it's going to be that feeling out process to figure out which ones actually work and how to use them. But again, I think it's exciting when they have these releases, because it just gives us those options to shift our thinking and the way we approach things like projects and whatnot.
Yeah. Yeah. So day 5 was integration with Apple Intelligence. I think for the most part of all the major tech companies, Apple's been the most disappointing because we all looked at Siri, a decade ago and thought it would essentially do what it is that ChatGPT and Claude and so on are supposed to do, but it never did. It would suck just basically. So now you integrate it with ChatGPT, but my question has always been, why would I go to Apple where you can ask Siri, but then it still would say, oh, do you want to go to ChatGPT? Wouldn't I start at Chat? Why would I even remotely touch Apple anymore?
Well, and again, I think this is just even the big tech companies trying to figure out how all the pieces fit together and everybody's scrambling to, like, let's face it, I mean, you know, Siri and all these tools that are out there are kind of cool, but again, they're not the most efficient. You get frustrated with them. So again, I think it's just these big tech companies trying to fit the pieces together. My
favorite of the entire Shipments was day 6, advanced voice mode with video, where we always do that demo we have with where when we went to Paris and we saw not just voice but actual video. So now you on your phone you can have full conversations, but also in real time showcasing or highlighting certain things. I think that's really big. I'm still waiting for the desktop app, but I want to jump then to Google's release and here's a short demo of this.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Is there anything you'd like to talk about?
Okay.
Okay, sounds good. What's on your mind?
I want you to right now, what are you looking at on my screen?
Okay, I can tell you what I see in the video you shared. First, there is an explosion with fire, then a person driving a car or jeep in the desert, then a plane is falling from the sky, and then it cuts to a first-person view of a game inside a building.
Keep going.
Okay, after that last shot, the video shows a third-person view of the game, where there is a character in a police uniform and another person on a motorcycle inside a large room.
What game do you think this is?
Based on what I saw, this looks like it could be Call of Duty, Black Ops 6.
I don't know about you, but that really changes the paradigm of business use case, because not only can you have conversations with a business, right? But we can actually use multimodal in terms of providing some sort of, the first thing I think of is, let's say you're a automotive company or something to do with widgets or parts. Well, if you have a problem with it from a customer service perspective, you can just, in addition to having conversations, you can take pictures or you can record video of the problem and you have AI to help you out.
I think with this, Carl, and again, we've been talking about this since May, again, like you said, when we were in Paris. The exciting thing about this is that I don't even think we've fully figured out how this new capability can be used. I mean, I think it is, you're right. I mean, you just think about any kind of tech support, somebody out in the field. I mean, how many manuals do you get when they've got, one manual for 12 different models of a device? Whereas with this now, you could actually pull it up, use your camera, show it, and be able to get direct feedback for that specific part or that specific model. There's so many applications that I think I agree with you. That's one of the most exciting releases we've seen.
Now, and they also had Santa mode, which I had my daughter, and she's 9. She's like, "Yeah, that's great. I don't really care." So that was I thought it was, it's like, oh, you can talk to Santa. And she's like, "Oh, that's fantastic." She talked for like 2 seconds, and then that was it. So I'm like, okay. But I thought that was kind of neat. And I also think from a Google side too, they released the API. Well, kind of released. It's going to be in January. And I saw a couple videos where from an advanced voice mode, not just Google, but OpenAI too, where you can now control what you do just with your voice. So I saw, here's a demo of Sawyer Hood doing the controlling or ordering a sandwich from a various location.
Hey, can you go to Suvla's website and order a black sheep sandwich?
I'm on Suvla's website now. Let me look for the option to order a black sheep sandwich. I didn't find an option to order directly from the homepage. Let me check the navigation menu for a way to access the menu or place an order. I found the Order Online link in the navigation menu. Let me proceed to place an order for the black sheep sandwich. We're now at the online ordering page for Suvla. It seems we need to find a nearby location to start the order. Could you please provide a city or zip code?
Yeah, can you pick the Hayes Valley location?
I found the add it.
Hey, actually, can you make that Greek style when you add it?
The black sheep sandwich has been added to your cart with the Greek style modification.
The ability to actually take action with your voice is a pretty significant thing, because it isn't just about showcasing video. It's also showcasing, I feel, Jeff, sometimes it's just a lot easier to talk through things than typing it out or even coding it out.
Well, I think, and that's the thing about it, is when you think about it, typing something or writing something down to communicate with somebody in real time is not really natural. Having a conversation with somebody is very natural and interactive, and you can make a lot more progress quickly, and you can kind of shift your thinking because you've got that two-way response. And I think that's what's really exciting about this is, when you think of everything with respect to search and instructions and everything else that you're doing, even, doing interviews. I mean, I've done that now with ChatGPT, has done an interview with myself and been able to get to a final result a lot quicker than trying to type it out. I mean, it's just, and again, I think this is the exciting thing, is that we don't even realize the potential of where we can go with this.
We're probably going to have another show on this, but I really do believe there's a term, and I love using it, it's called Lumiere's Law, where we're still looking at the technology through the lens, new technology through the lens of current technology. So we're seeing a lot of, like, my favorite example is AI SDRs. For those who don't know, those are sales development reps, kind of the people who cold call you and cold email you, especially in the tech sector. So we have O1 and O3 high reasoning, PhD level capable models. But the first thing that we want, or one of the first things we want to do, is have them cold call and cold email people. It doesn't make any sense. And that's why I'm thinking, we're still looking at it from that point. So moving on here, day 7 was projects in ChatGPT. Another, if you're a Power ChatGPT user, it's much better to organize these tools in there. And I feel, back to our conversation about them building an OS, if they can actually start putting folders in the actual system, again, why would you leave? Day 8 was another important release. This is now real-time search capabilities integrated into ChatGPT. So they made a bunch of improvements to ChatGPT search, which a lot of companies, I think Google is very aware that it's now starting to eat, maybe not as big as some people think, but eat into that share. But connected to voice, advanced voice mode for ChatGPT also has real-time search. So you have vision, you have voice, and it can do real-time search. I don't know about you, that's a very, very amazing personal, assistant that can see things, that can hear things, and has improved memory.
Well, and I think you can start to see that, again, it's a bit of a shot across the bow for a Google, because Perplexity is another one out there, and you can even see the improvements with even Google these days. But I mean, for OpenAI to step up with this search feature, again, it changes the game, and I think it changes the way we have to think about search from so many aspects, from a personal use, but also from a business, and how do you position yourself in these new search, capabilities. It's not the traditional, search engine optimization approach to it. So again, that's something that businesses are going to have to rethink.
Day 9 was more O1 tools for developers. Again, for me, as someone who loves to build some of this stuff, some of the new fine-tuning methods, but really more improvements to the real-time API. So for those who don't know, the real-time API is how you build this voice model. And I'm super excited. Jeff, we had prototypes that we showed to prospects about just trying to think of different use cases. And for me, I believe there's a reinvention, I think, that needs to happen from the website, where you still need to go to a website and click around and, find information. But now you can just have full conversations with the business, right? Just hey, how much you cost, price, customer service, and then the vision component comes into it, showcasing your stuff. Or even, let's say, a home builder, right? It's like, what kind of homes do you have? These are the homes you have. Cool. Do you have this type of home? And you can just show a picture of the home that you want, and then they'll come up with various elements to it. And now we're exploring the ability to use voice to control aspects of the website. So I was like, hey, I want to see your page on, I don't know, this new townhome, or I want to see the page on this. And it's able to control that, which just expands the operation and reinvents the website completely. And that's just a small piece too.
Well, you know what? And the way that I think about it is right now when you're using search and looking for information, it's like running into a maze.
Yes.
You know, you're running down, you're running into dead ends, you're back and forth, and eventually you find what you're looking for. But I compare it to what we have now with some of these new releases and the new capabilities is walking up to a service desk and having a well-informed, person on the other side of that desk just there to answer any question you have. And I think that's what you're seeing now with these voice capabilities. And it's a much better experience and it's more efficient. And I think that's the exciting thing about some of these capabilities.
So day 10 was 1-800-CHAT-GPT. And I love this because it's also in Canada. Like it was only in the United States, but it's in Canada too. And I think what we forget, and definitely for our business audience too, who doesn't pay attention to this stuff, we still run into so many businesses, so many people are like still using ChatGPT for free and equating AI to ChatGPT. I think it's a very smart play for them because there are still people who use landlines and just in everyday situations, it's perfect for the holiday. Someone just, hey, do you know 1-800-CHAT-GPT? And it's kind of funny, but it's available. And I think this is an awesome distribution play because
I actually tested it out on WhatsApp as well. And it worked really well. I can have a conversation on my WhatsApp with ChatGPT tying into the 800 number.
Yeah. So, it's not designed for people who are like us or people who follow AI regularly. And it's really designed for people who, I think the stat, and I'm going to have to verify this, maybe 2/3 of the world is online, like has broadband connection and so on. Even that, I'm not sure. There is still a big section of the population that has spotty or no online access or regular users of landlines and still use the phone. So I think this is an awesome way to reach those people and give them the ability to have just a little bit of AI. Because for me, I also think too, this whole thing doesn't make sense if the only people who could use AI are the people who can afford it and who are in better situations than other people. But if you can have something like 1-800-CHAT-GPT, you at least have the capability to have that conversation with AI.
Totally. And I think it's just that accessibility. And I think what we should actually do as a test, Carl, is we should find an old rotary dial phone.
Yes.
We'll test it out that way to see how it works.
Okay, so going off topic, I don't know about you, haven't seen a payphone, which I tested there, in a very long time. I've seen places where a payphone used to exist.
That's right.
But I see that in rotary. I don't know. I haven't seen that in decades. So
we definitely, if either of us see a payphone, we got to make sure that we're grabbing a quarter and phoning 1-800-CHAT-GPT.
Yeah. Okay. So day 11 is working with apps. That's a little bit more, again, working inside the tool. So for those who don't know, ChatGPT now can connect with multiple apps. So they can, in addition to coding apps like VS Code or even Terminal, Xcode, now can work with Notion, Quibi, and something else. But what's interesting is when I saw the live stream, that person had 26 apps available. So I know there's a whole bunch coming. I can only imagine, because how that works is essentially ChatGPT can see, quote unquote, how you're working. So when I'm on VS Code, I can ask ChatGPT, hey, can you look at my code? What are some things to improve? What are some errors? How do I improve? So now we can go to Notion, be like, have that conversation. I was a little disappointed because I thought The next step to that, and they were using Santa to do it, was like they're doing the list of things that person wants for Christmas, and they were talking to Santa or chatting with Santa, but I swear I wanted that one piece left was like, hey Santa, can you update that list to include this? And Santa actually does it. And Kevin Weil did say that's what they're working on. So again, back to voice, not only it can control certain things, but it can actually help you be productive. So that, I think there's a lot of elements here where, again, an OS, but to be able to work with the applications you use, but eventually be able to actually tell it to do certain things would be amazing. And then finally, I think I want to spend a little bit of time in this last one was the O3 model. There's a lot of benchmarks that I think I want to showcase just a little bit. So I'm going to share my screen here. I saved on X a bunch of these benchmarks that the O3 model they were launching. And again, we're not quite sure from a business sense what specifically you can do with this. I did ask ChatGPT. So if you see, which is really, this is just competition math. GPT-4, O1, O1 full, O1 preview, O1 full, and O3. That is ridiculous right here. The jump. And that's only in 3 months. So in 3 months, we went from O1 to now O3. Back to reasoning scores. I thought this was an interesting chart. The estimated IQ of ChatGPT-4 is 115, 123, 135, 139, 141, 157. You know, there's a lot of talk about AGI. I don't think it's AGI yet, but to have models that are in this range is kind of ridiculous.
You know what? I think it's ridiculous. And again, I don't even know if, organizations out there realize the impact of this. And you've made a couple of posts on that. And again, I think it's tough to really wrap your head around of what this actually means for society as a whole. But especially, businesses that are out there trying to solve complex problems.
Yep.
To have this capability now, at your fingertips is pretty amazing.
But even just having a conversation, right? So it's like, we always talk about building a co-pilot for your organization, recording yourself, the CEO, subject matter experts, and then putting in your personal brand or company brand, company profile, and so on, and have it think and act like you. But imagine just having like a 157 or even 139, 135 IQ level AI to help you with any of the issues, the problems, anything that you have issues with for $20 a month. It's still mind blowing that we have that ability. But yet when we go into businesses, it's still, hey, ChatGPT for free. And that disconnect between what, like for $20 a month, even $200 a month as a business, wouldn't you pay for that for everybody?
You know what? I think the big thing and we always have this conversation, Carl, is that it's so new and people are just trying to bolt it on to what they know. And again, even I can even say, even for myself, like it's, over the last couple of years, you got to really shift your way of what you've trained yourself to do in the past and think of it in a different way to use this knowledge that you have available to you to even figure out the things that you aren't even aware exist in your business. I mean, I think that's the interesting thing too. If you can dig into these models and start to test it against your industry and dig deeper and pose the questions that you might think there's no answers to be able to use these models to help you explore new frontiers really in your different lines of work.
Yeah, and even some of these, so obviously a lot of the people who work at OpenAI, and I really recommend you to watch some of the, especially the O3 demo. Some of you may not understand from a software engineering or a competition code perspective. This one was a big one here, the competition code. So in competition code, there is O3 is scored at 2727 on Codeforce, which is equivalent to number 175 best human competitive coder on the planet, which is, pretty significant. So there are only 174 coders in the world that are better than this thing, than O3. And we went from O1 to O3 in 3 months. Where will we be in another 3 to 6 months? Will we have the best coder? And then in terms of research math, this is very, very hard to score in. Like, I would really recommend going to understand what frontier math evaluations are, because this is, to have it score this high, where previous it is outrageous. The one piece that I think that everybody needs to be aware of, again, not artificial general intelligence, and not, in my view at least, is that the highly tuned model, this is the ARC-AGI evaluation. And to give a little bit of context, humans score usually between 85 to 100 in this. Tuned model, O3 scored 87.5, so 88%. That's pretty ridiculous, where we've now have, again, models that are smarter at certain things than humans on certain benchmarks. Again, not everything, but it's things like, if you actually think about that, it's pretty amazing.
You know what, Carl, and this is you and I always have these conversations because, again, you're more on the technical side and you get really excited about these things. I do as well, but as more of the old school business guy, I'm always going, but wait a minute, I've got to understand what this means to me and how I can use it in my business on a daily basis and how I can get it into my routine. Because sometimes, and again, in the old days, I've never been a coder. It gets complex and the tech people love to talk about this stuff. But when it gets to the old school business person, whether you're a construction guy or an energy guy or an accountant or whoever it may be, a lawyer, a dentist, if you're non-technical, I think that's the interesting thing about it is, and I go back to that analogy and I've used it before, is that I know how to turn the key on in my truck and I know how to put it into drive and I can drive the hell out of that thing. But ask me about the horsepower or the torque or the pistons. I always get that, like, guys ask me what size of engine I have in my truck. I'm like, I don't know. I turn it on and it goes. And I think that's the missing piece right now with all of the capabilities with AI, is trying to bring it down. And that's why guys like us are out there trying to kind of bring it to a point where we can help make sense of it for those non-technical people, to help them figure out ways they can use these incredible, models and advancements to help progress their operations.
And I think 100%, because that we always talk about the gap between those who use AI and those who don't. But I think over these last 12, 2.5 weeks, we're seeing, for those people who understand, not just understand the tech, but how the ability to see that connection into business, I think that's where the massive advantage is. Because it's not just knowing the tech, like, oh, we have whatever the tool, but it's like, hey, there's 2 levels of this. One is, could we augment, enhance some of our current workflows or processes? That's part one. But I think the big piece is, can we really redefine our business to either meet our customers or allow them to delight them or make their purchasing journey a lot easier? Or internally, can we rechange our operations to make it more efficient, more productive, leaner? So there's that aspect. And if you can really put those together, you are really going to put, whoever figures that out from a business side will have massive advantage over the next year, 2 years, as a lot more businesses are just trying to figure it out and trying to bolt on processes or products into their current processes or products.
Well, and I think that's what we're going to talk about in another episode here, because I think that is important. Because if you don't start looking at these models and look at them from a different angle, you do run that risk of, having another organization, whether it's a competitor or whether it's a complete new startup, wreaking havoc on your business.
Yeah. So for our audience, a couple of questions for you. What was your favorite release of the 12 days of Shipments or Google's releases? What are some things that you could potentially plan to implement in 2025? And in 2025, how can your organization use specifically these multimodal features that both OpenAI, Google, and even other AI labs are either have or going to have in 2025? let us know in the comments in the description below.
Learn more about implementing AI in your industry by watching these videos here. Enjoy today's episode? Want to learn how AI can make an impact in your business? Then please subscribe to this channel. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next episode.